Hello out there, this is the AnyPony and I have a question for you. What makes an Alicorn immortal? First, as you probably already noticed, this episode took me a bit longer than the first Ask videos. The reason? Producing more than one video a week is kind of tricky for me, but since I don't want to give up all my other shows, I decided to lower the frequency I make new Ask videos to every other week. But now let's get the show started. Not long ago, Curious made a video about Celestia, Luna and the history of Equestria. In that video he gathered up all lore information represented in the season so far and tried to put the Equestrian history together as good as possible. And he did a pretty thorough and well-structured job, I would like to add. After a rather objective part about what the show is actually telling us, maybe a few speculations on the sideline, Curious passes over into headcanon territory and represents us his very own conclusions and interpretations of the rather vague picture we have so far, especially about where the Alicorns come from. He points out that the introduction of Cadence, the revelation that she used to be a Pegasus in the book Twilight Sparkle and the Crystal Heart spell, as well as Twilight's own ascent are evidences for the fact that Alicornhood is more common than it appeared at the beginning of the show, leading to the thought that there might have been more Alicorns in the past and that there will probably be more in the future. Curious also has a nice explanation how a pony becomes an Alicorn in the first place. But hey, I don't want to end up re-narrating everything he already talked about. After all, if you haven't already watched his video, you really should. Anyways, the fact that Cadence seems to age normally and Megan McCarthy's statement that Twilight is not going to outlive her friends by eternity suggests that Alicorns are normally not immortal. But Luna and Celestia apparently are. And so we finally reach this episode's question. What makes an Alicorn immortal? Curious already covered a few explanation approaches. All ponies are immortal. Pretty unlikely since there seems to be aging. Celestia and Luna extend their lives themselves via aging spells. Also not very satisfying since it implies that the princesses extend their Reigen artificially in a tyrannic manner. And finally, the two were deemed worthy of becoming the eternal guardians of Sun and Moon. Another idea that does not sit too well with Curious since it raises the question what semi-conscious entity would have made this decision. I admit that's pretty tricky. I took my own explanation from the fanfiction past since. Immortality in Alicorns comes from the sheer amount of magic they possess, making those kinds of Alicorns invulnerable to everything including aging. Now, Cadence's amount of magic seems to be rather limited, and we still have to see if Twilight actually gained any new magical superpowers. So I guess those two do not own enough magic to be immortal. But that still leaves the question how Luna and Celestia do so. Maybe they entered some symbiotic relationship with the particular celestial bodies? Well, I guess it's time to let you guys throw in your 2 bits. How do you explain Celestia's and Luna's apparent immortality? Or do you have doubts about it in the first place? Last time I tackled a rather controversial topic and asked about pony mating habits. But before we go into this, let's look at another question that had been brought up by Uno Matoverna. What is the name of the Rule63 version of my OC? So far I heard ANXPony, AnyPony or short just Any, and FemYPony, the name this picture's artist, the Lunar Army, came up with. Feel free to leave your suggestion for the name in the comments, but please put those suggestions and your answer for the Alicorn question in separate posts. Also, if someone else posted a suggestion you like, give that comment a thumb up. Apparently I screwed up my explanation last time bigger than I thought. I already added the line about polyamory to the script because the original meaning of polygamy refers to marrying multiple partners and I was going for a more loose interpretation of the word. Well, according to Silent Paw, I should have said either polyphilic or multi-amorous. That's what I get for using Wikipedia for my research. Damn it! What I was actually going for is pretty much what Mad Rush describes. If a pony feels like mating with another one, he or she simply does so, and if a foal comes out of it, it's not a big deal. This concept might be a bit hard for us to take in, since we live in a patriarchal society that has persisted for thousands of years. But as Indigo Moose pointed out, in a matriarchal society, and I guess there is no debate that the Equestria is one, marriage itself is not as necessary and consequently not as common. Oh, and by the way, please stop suggesting asking the writers about questions like Urishima did. If the writers start explaining everything, there is no more room for speculations, and my Ask series is ruined! Now, there were quite a lot of people actually going along with the series I presented. Some like dBPony even went a bit overboard. But others like dBPony, for example, took a more subtle approach. She made a video response starting with my observations about the female-male ratio and went over the role and presentation of male ponies in the show and fandom in general. One argument supporting my multi-armory theory that came up rather often was a comparison to herds of real-life horses. Christoph Bradford was the first one to bring it up. WolfX1120 added to this that Big Mac must be one happy stallion. Zoe Schäfer also explained that a few monogamous couples within a herd also reflect realistic conditions. And at Stacks Word 12, well, he draws the conclusion that pony society evolved out of a real-life herd-like structure in which eventually intelligence became the dominant procreation factor. The ratio, however, remained due to biological reasons. Another model how pony society works without dying out is the teenager model as presented by Lion to Gear. Ponies are like teenagers and, well, do what teenagers do. Or as Big John Adams 18 puts it, the stallions were just banging the crap out of the mares. Very sophisticated. The N389 explained that according to scientific research, a polyphilic society actually is a more advanced form of society. Kind of makes sense if you ask me, not limiting an individual's strong emotional bond to only one other, but being open and without jealousy allows an all-over far more empathic society in general. But there are also a number of ideas giving alternative explanation for the unbalanced female-male ratio. Maxence, aka the Lunar Army, aka my go-to person for badass drawings, speculates that there might be a war going on and all the stallions are out there fighting. This kind of goes along with Banato27's theory that colts have to join the military if they don't get the cutie mark until a given age. Cloud Cuckoo Country and Indigo Moose speculated that the ratio is actually even, but that a lot of stallions simply have a female build and we just do not recognize them as male. Another approach by Eevee Princess XD with a similar train of thoughts but from the opposite direction is that the ratio of ponies is even, but that all those additional mares we see are in fact a peaceful kind of changelings, just living along the ponies and feeding off their emotions in an unaggressive way. Wow! I really like this explanation. Everdruid and Bernd Ramsden provided the argument that same-sex pairings as well as imbalanced ratio are evolutionary solutions against overpopulation. Wait, would the latter make more sense if there were more males than females? Anyways, Blazer NYOB has an explanation based on antique religions. Luna is a goddess of fertility and her absence created the imbalance ratio and forced Celestia to strengthen the remaining males through guard duty. I have to admit my series left a lot of questions open. KTK19 was wondering if the magic of love applies for all equestrian species. Frostleaf9 tackled the possibility that both mares could get pregnant at the same time, keeping Michael Maddox worried about the question who would get who to the hospital. But not every pony was really comfortable with the questions I raised. Blue Star, for example, had some problems with my assumptions of a polygamous society, but he accepted the challenge nonetheless and produced another video response. His leading question is under which circumstances polyphilic behavior is morally fine, respectively reprehensible. And he did a great job tackling diverse facets I haven't even thought about before. And then there was one big counter argument, taking on both of my theories at once. Hearts and Hoofstay. No wonder this episode does not count for my favorites. Well, Kim Knight, Lost in Numbers, Jamata, Skullkive, Sky Silverwing, Visyak Chefias, Greg Schumacher and Miss Fluffy Ninja 7 all elaborated how a certain holiday and the CMC's point of view on it established that the heterosexual couples are the norm in Equestria. At least Dirt of King can still imagine the Asari theory being true despite bringing up Hearts and Hoofstay. Mr. Flix even went so far making a video response in which he picks the episode apart with the intention to bash my beloved headcanons. But what do you know? By taking a closer look at the episode, he discovered evidences within this very episode supporting not only one, but both my theories. I am not saying that his discoveries invalidate all the aforementioned arguments this episode provides against my theories, but as I see it, Hearts and Hoofstay provides no absolute proof for either side, allowing each and every one of us to keep our own headcanons. But there's still a lot of room for criticism. Biter, for example, remarks, as he did in regards to my previous Ask video as well, that you don't have to explain everything with magic just because it exists in MLP. The same criticism was brought up by Cypher2035 in his video response. He and Biter, as well as Croc bring up parthenogenesis, the ability for a female to impregnate herself, a phenomenon that can be observed in the whiptail lizard. Well, Redcord, I will not compete with you about the headcanon video about this topic, but Cypher kind of beat you to it, I'm afraid. Other alternative ideas are gender swap, like with the dinosaurians in Jurassic Park, brought up by Mechanicals TV, and eggs. Yes, according to Pure and Ryan, ponies come from eggs. And the really crazy part, she was not the only one with this idea. Chainbelt brings even up storks. And I really wish that would have been the weirdest comments I got. Just look at John Trollstein's and Hellripper12's comments. Well, and Past Analysis even used the Royal Canterlot voice to express his wish to see pony genitals. Dude, I'm getting worried about you. Also, may I refer to Deadpool and TGWTG fan who did not get tired to reply to a lot of comments that we are talking about a kids show. Anyways, this episode's best comment goes to Dragexonic Mile, who outbronied all of us by referring to the earlier generation's explanation. When the light of two rainbows cross, a new pony is born. This is AnyPony saying see you soon.